Hello, this is Brian Purdy with the Florida Aviation Network. Today we're at Sun and Fun 2023, the Aerospace Expo. Today we're also talking with a representative from the Bahamas. And please introduce yourself, sir.
Hi, my name is Bradley Strachan. I'm with the Civil Aviation Authority Bahamas. I'm the Director of Air Transport Licensing. I have the responsibility of commercial operations, be it charter or scheduled, cargo, air service agreements, special landings, etc., and drone operations.
Okay, great. So you're manning the booth for the Bahamas, I understand.
Yes, I was invited by the Ministry of Tourism, which I worked with for a short period, to assist in aiding individuals in coming to the Bahamas in terms of what are the procedures from an ATC perspective, from an air transport perspective, and from a customs and immigration perspective.
Okay. So a lot of that can go for both the commercial operations and the individual operations as far as knowing how to deal with customs and everything. But you're specialized on the commercial side of things, charters, scheduled airlines. In this world where we are right now at Sun and Fun, we're probably more charter people that are coming up to you than the scheduled airlines. What kind of questions are they asking you, and how are you able to help them?
Well, right now, just for clarity of charter, because in the commercial operations, you have charter services, which is a person go ahead and they purchase the whole aircraft and then they fly as a group. And then you have schedule, which is a scheduled operations that operate at specific times, specific dates, and to specific points. So sometimes people get confused with the terms charter and private, because they'll say, I'm a private, but you're still commercial operations. In this particular instance, you have more private operations in terms of general aviation. And those persons are asking for steps and guidelines or how easy it is to get to and from the Bahamas. And it is quite simple. Basically, it's the same as in every other country. You fill out a flight plan, you talk to the appropriate facilities, like in this case will be air traffic control, and then you will go through the customs and immigration procedure, and that's basically to ensure that countries are aware of what you're bringing in and what you're taking out of their country. Specifically, because of the close proximity to the United States, we have what we called a port of entries that you must land at. Those are areas in which you have customs and immigration to process you. And in that process, you have what they call a cruise permit. You will pay a fee of $50, and you would have their card stamp initially at the first port of entry. And then you can island hop from island to island. And so when you present the check card, it's just like a band when you go into a fair. The first time you check, and then you can move around to all the facilities. You're not required to depart from that same point of entry. You could depart from any port of entry going back to the United States, which is a requirement also internationally.
Okay, great. So I'm assuming that this takes some time. So it's not like you wake up in the morning saying, hey, I want to go to the Bahamas, and you can get everything done before you take off. Or can you? Or is it something, okay, you start working it a month beforehand?
Well, in case of private operations, it's really simple. You don't have any lead time. It's basically you just fill out your flight plan, have your required documents. In the case, proof of who you are, which is an American requirement, because a lot of them think it's a Bahamian requirement, because there were years when you could come to the Bahamas with a driver's license, something that was signed and had a photo. But once you have the appropriate documents to leave your country and enter our country, then you just file a flight plan and you go. In terms of schedule, it's a little different, because now you have to get in contact with the operator who owns that company and probably file that maybe they only fly on Tuesday at 2 o'clock. So that takes a little bit more planning.
Okay, great. So it sounds like there's a lot to do in the Bahamas, and the island hopping is probably the most adventurous, I guess you could say. It sounds like there are many airports that are both public and private. Is there any type of coordination that needs to be done between airports, or is it still, okay, just do the flight plan and they've got enough heads up from that?
Well, basically, yes, there is coordination already established. You have the airport authority who is responsible for regulations in terms of rules and regulations governing the airport. Then you have what we call NAD, which is a facility organization that do the maintenance for the airport. And then you have the Civil Aviation Authority, which is my department, which do oversight for security and safety. Initially, NAD was supposed to be responsible for all government-related airports and private airports in the program. And there are approximately about 48 government-owned airports and several private aircraft. They're all listed. If you come to the booth, you have what we call a pilot's guide to provide all the information required, things in regard to runway configuration, fuel availability, whether it's a port of entry, whether it's government or private, and contact information. Also in that book, we give you a checklist, so you could have a guidelines, just like in the hurricanes, you know to do this, so you make sure you don't leave out anything, and when you get there, then you're turned back. There's also, like I mentioned earlier, a C7A form, which is for the private pilots, and the C7 form, which is for commercial operations, which you fill out in advance, and you present to customs, and that gives you a smoother transition from point A to point B within the country.
Okay, great. So, sounds like the best thing to do is the booth if you're here. And I'm guessing all this is also on websites for the Bahamas?
Yes, you can come down to the booth. We're in D. I guess you could call it Facility D, counters 20 and 21. All of this information could also be found on Bahamas.com. And it'll give you a broader perspective of all the information you need. But feel free to come down, and we'll do our best to make sure you're there tomorrow.
Great, great. I just thought of something. Do you think there's a greater proportion that come down and fly privately compared to flying down either scheduled airlines or then the charter in between? Do you have any kind of numbers on that? Or
Actually, yes, because since the pandemic, we've noticed that there are a lot of private jets coming over, and the numbers, a lot of people are now, I guess, realize that they can actually don't have to book a scheduled airline. They can actually get together as a group and a family and come down and visit, or you have a private plane. A lot of persons are a little terrified of flying over, but I use the analogy. In Wisconsin, there's a lake that's about 55 miles. The closest point is 55 miles, which is South Bimini, to the south, well, actually the southeast of Florida. If you can fly across there, you have pretty great waters, and if push comes to shove, you could land in the water and catch a snack.
Oh, if you got a seaplane. Yes. And I'm thinking that's about the same 50 miles offshore as when you start needing to carry the inflatable rafts and life preservers and stuff.
Yes, you'll be required to carry survival equipment in the event that there is a catastrophe. We are hoping that it's not, because like we say, sun, sand, and sea, it's supposed to be all beautiful, but things do happen.
Well, Bradley, thank you very much for spending some time with us here. We look forward to meeting you at your booth. Any last words you'd like to say before we wrap it up for today?
Well, welcome to the Bahamas in advance, and we look forward to having you there. And if you need anything, you can come over to the booth today. We are here until the 2nd of April, which is the closing period for this venture.
And then you'll be waving some of your friends goodbye when they do the big fly out going back to the islands.
Yes, they're having a fly out to prove how easy it is to get from point A to point B right from this establishment on the 2nd of February, and it's going to be televised so that they can prove, see, we're here. They did something similar in Oshkosh, where they actually was, during the period, flew down and was having Kong Salad and Kalik on the beach, and then they flew back.
Wow. They were willing to miss Oshkosh.
No, well, Oshkosh is at a different time, but I remember that happened because I was a part of Oshkosh at that time, and so they're trying it here because they are. The idea is Oshkosh is really far away, whereas Orlando is much closer, and it's just a hop away. And so they're proving, okay, we're going to be here, we're going to televise it and let you see how much fun you could have within a matter of hour or so.
Great. Great. It gives everybody a little bit more reason to come down to Sun and Fun in Lakeland, because we can get to the Bahamas faster than Oshkosh.
One more thing, though, they're having a air show to help revitalize Grand Bahama and Abaco due to the hurricane devastation, and it's scheduled to be sometime in around Memorial Day 2024. There'll be more coming information because a lot of things are presently in negotiation.
Okay, great. And it looks like we can go from Sun and Fun to Bahamas and then eventually over to Oshkosh.
Yes.
And in 24 next year. My gosh, that's just around the corner. Okay. Well, once again, Bradley, thank you very much for spending some time with us. Look forward to seeing your booth and learning a lot along the way and preparing for next year. And thank you for joining us. This is Brian Purdy with the Florida Aviation Network, live and in the clear from Sun and Fun Aerospace Expo 2023. Have a great day. Fun.